Have you ever stopped to think about how many masks you put on every day? How many times do you smile when you want to cry? How many times do you say yes when your heart screams no? How many times do you look at the sky but don't see the stars? Brothers and sisters, we live in a mental Babylon, a prison that we have built brick by brick, thought by thought. And the question I need to ask you today is, when was the last time you really lived? Not just existed, but really lived. Bob Marley once said that some people feel the rain, others just get wet. Which one are you? This man born in 9 Mile, Jamaica, was not just a musician. Bob was a prophet, a revolutionary of consciousness, a spiritual warrior who understood that the greatest battle is within ourselves. When he sang about liberation, he wasn't just talking about political liberation. He was talking about freeing our minds from the invisible chains we carry. We wake up every day, have coffee, go to work, come home, watch TV, sleep, and we call it life. But that's not life. It's existence on autopilot. It's survival, not living. And Bob knew that. When he said, stand up for your rights, it wasn't just about political rights. It was about your sacred right to experience every moment as a free being, free to feel, free to love, free to exist in your deepest truth. The Rastafarian philosophy that Bob embraced is not a set of rules or dogma. It is a path to liberation. It is an understanding that Yah, the divine, is not just in the sky, but within each of us. When Rastas say, I and I, it is not just a peculiar way of speaking. It is the deep recognition that I am in you, you are in me, and we are all connected to something greater. You see, in Babylon, this system of oppression that goes far beyond governments, that penetrates our minds, we're trained to see ourselves as separate, separated from each other, separated from nature, separated from the divine. And it is precisely this separation that causes our suffering. When Bob smoked his sacred herb, it wasn't just for recreation. It was a sacrament. It was a way to break through the barriers of the conditioned mind and remember the connection with all that is. Rastas call this reasoning, that moment of clarity and communion, when the mind finally becomes still and we can see beyond the veil of illusion. Think about it. How many of your worries are really yours? How many of your fears have been implanted in you? How many of your desires have been programmed by the consumer society? The truth is that we live absorbing thoughts that are not ours, feeling anxieties that were manufactured, chasing dreams that we never chose. That's not freedom. Bob knew that. He understood that true revolution begins within. It begins when we stop buying into the lies we're sold about who we should be. The system wants you to be small. It wants you to be afraid. It wants you to compete. It wants you to hate your body. It wants you to distrust your neighbor. It wants you to think you need more and more things to be happy. But what if Bob Marley were your life coach? He would look you in the eye and say, who convinced you that you are less than divine? Who made you believe that you were born incomplete? Who planted the seeds of scarcity in you when Yah created a world of abundance? In the Rastafarian tradition, there is a concept called livity. It is living in harmony with nature, with divine principles. It is understanding that your body is a temple, that your mind is sacred, that every word you speak carries power. Bob lived this. When he ate, it was atal, natural, vital foods that nourish not only the body, but the spirit. When he exercised, it was not vanity. It was honoring the temple Jah gave him. When he sang, it was not entertainment. It was prayer. It was protest. It was healing. And that's the first lesson Bob would give you. Honor your temple. Your body is your home on this earthly journey. What you put into it matters. What you consume with your eyes, your ears, your mouth, all of it becomes you. Processed, chemical-filled foods don't just feed your body, they dull your consciousness. Negative media, hate, and sensationalist news are not information. They are pollution for your soul. Bob would ask you, what are you planting in your inner garden? What seeds are you nurturing with your attention? In a culture of constant distraction, the ability to be present is a revolutionary act. Bob understood this. Amid political turmoil, poverty, and violence, he found moments to be present, playing his guitar, playing soccer, meditating under the Jamaican stars. Presence is not just a mental state, it is a spiritual state. It is when we are fully present that we can feel the divinity flowing through everything. And that brings me to the second lesson Bob would teach you. Practice mindful presence, not just as a sporadic exercise, but as a way of life. When you eat, just eat. Feel the flavor, the texture. Be thankful for the food and for all who worked to bring it to your table. When you talk to someone, be completely there, not on your phone, not planning what you're going to say next, not judging. Just be present, open-hearted, listening not just with your ears, but with your whole being. When you walk, feel your feet touching Mother Earth. Feel the connection with the soil, with the deep roots, with billions of years of living history beneath your feet. This presence is not passive. It is intensely active. It is a state of alert receptivity, where you are open to Jah in all his manifestations. Bob sang about one love, but it wasn't just a pretty idea. It was a spiritual reality that he experienced. When we are truly present, we begin to feel this interconnectedness. We begin to understand that love is not just a feeling. It is the very nature of reality. The system works hard to keep us disconnected from this truth. Why? Because people who know they are divine, who are connected, who are powerful, those people are impossible to control. Bob Marley was persecuted. They tried to kill him. They tried to silence him, not just because of his political views, but because he lived a truth that was dangerous to the system, the truth that we are free by nature. And that brings me to the third lesson Bob would teach you. Recognize mental chains. Before you can break any chain, you need to see that it exists. Rastas talk a lot about Babylon, the system of oppression that is not only external, but that colonizes our minds. How many times a day do you censor yourself? How many times do you suppress your truth for fear of judgment? How many times do you diminish yourself to fit into the expectations of others? These are chains, chains as real as those that bound our enslaved ancestors. The difference is that now, in many cases, we're the ones putting on the shackles ourselves. Bob Marley understood that the fight for freedom was not just in the streets. It was in the mind. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery, he would say. No one but ourselves can free our minds. And this is not a simple task. It is a daily, hour-by-hour job of observing your thoughts, of questioning your limiting beliefs, of realizing when you are reacting from fear and not from love. Ask yourself, does this thought serve me? Does this belief expand my consciousness or contract it? Does this habit free me or imprison me? The fourth lesson Bob would give you is about vibration. Everything in this universe is energy vibrating at different frequencies. Your thoughts, your words, your actions, everything emits a vibration that attracts corresponding experiences. In the Rastafarian tradition, music is not just entertainment. It is a vibrational raising technology. When Bob played, he was not just creating beautiful sounds, he was channeling frequencies that raise consciousness. That's why, even decades after his physical passing, his songs still heal, still inspire, still liberate, because they carry a vibration of truth, of love, of spiritual resistance. And you can raise your vibration too. It starts with awareness, noticing when you are in a low frequency of fear, anger, jealousy, comparison, not to judge these feelings, but to recognize them as temporary visitors, not your essence. Then comes the conscious choice to raise your energy. This can be through the music you listen to, the people you surround yourself with, the places you spend time, the thoughts you cultivate, the words you speak. Bob knew that words have power. That's why Rastas developed their own language. Jamaican patois is not just a dialect. It's a way to decolonize the mind, to create new patterns of thought. When a Rasta says, I and I, instead of you and I, he is breaking the illusion of separation. When he says overstand instead of understand, he is recognizing that true understanding comes from being above the situation, not under it. Your language creates your reality. Notice how you talk to yourself. Notice the words you use over and over again. Are they creating more freedom or more limitation? Bob would encourage you to consciously create your vibration through every word, every thought, every choice. And that brings us to the fifth lesson: live with purpose. Bob Marley wasn't just making music, he was fulfilling a mission. He understood that every soul comes to this plane with a divine purpose. Not a job, not a career, a purpose. Your purpose is not something you invent, it's something you discover. It's encoded in your soul, in your natural gifts, in the things that make your heart sing. And when you live in alignment with that purpose, life takes on a new flavor. It doesn't mean there won't be challenges. Bob faced plenty. It means that even the challenges will make sense because they serve your evolution, your greater mission. Ask yourself, what would I do if I had no fear? What song is inside me waiting to be sung? What service do I want to render to the world? Your purpose will always be connected to service in some way, because we are parts of a whole, because true fulfillment comes from contributing, from creating, from elevating, from healing. Bob Marley didn't just sing for himself. He sang to raise the collective consciousness. He sang to give voice to the voiceless. He sang to heal ancestral wounds. He sang to unite divided hearts. What about you? What is your song? What is your unique contribution? What can only you, with your specific combination of gifts, experiences, and vision, offer? This is not a rhetorical question. It is perhaps the most important question you can ask, because when you live on autopilot, you're not just robbing yourself, you're robbing the world of its unique contribution. You're denying Jah the specific expression that can only come through you. The sixth lesson Bob would give you is about resistance. Not a resistance based on hate, but a resistance rooted in love. The system will try to discourage you. It will tell you that you are being unrealistic. It will offer you comfort in exchange for your soul. It will try to get you back on track, back on the safe path, back into a scarcity mindset. Bob faced this constantly. When he sang about unity, about Pan-Africanism, about a world without borders, the system reacted strongly, because free people, people who think beyond artificial divisions, are dangerous to the status quo. And here's the wisdom. True resistance is not about fighting the system on its own terms. It's about creating a parallel system. It's about living as if you're already free. It's about building the reality you want to see, starting with yourself, your family, your community. Bob didn't just talk about change. He lived it. His home on Hope Road, Jamaica, was a living example of community, of sharing, of alternative living. People of all backgrounds gathered there to reason together, to make music, to share food, to study Rastafarian philosophy. This is a resistance that creates rather than just opposes, and it is incredibly powerful. How can you create such spaces in your life? How can you build islands of awareness in an ocean of distraction and materialism? Who are the people you can reason with, not just talk to, but really explore deep truths? The seventh lesson Bob would teach you is about simplicity. In an age of increasing complexity, there is profound wisdom in simplifying. The Rastafarian tradition values a simple life, close to nature, free from artificial complications. This does not mean rejecting everything that is modern, but rather making conscious choices about what truly contributes to your well-being and the well-being of everyone. Bob, even when he achieved international fame, maintained a relatively simple life. His pleasures were basic, fundamental: good music, good food, good conversation, connection with nature, time for meditation and reflection. In a world that continually tells you that you need more possessions, more status, more entertainment, more distractions, there's a revolutionary power in saying, I have enough. Ask yourself, what is truly essential to my happiness? What can I simplify or eliminate? Where can I create more space in my life? Because it is in space that creativity flourishes. It is in silence that intuition speaks. It is in simplicity that we find clarity. Bob understood that life was not about accumulation. It was about elevation. Not about having more, but about being more. The eighth lesson is about healing. In Rastafarian philosophy, healing is not just physical. It is holistic. It involves body, mind, spirit, community, connection with nature. Bob saw firsthand how the Western medical system often treats only symptoms, not root causes. He saw how it separates the body from the mind, the person from the community, the human from nature. The Rastafarian perspective understands that illness is often an imbalance between different aspects of the self, an imbalance in the relationship with the natural world, an imbalance in social structures. Bob would encourage you to take responsibility for your own healing, investigating the root causes of your imbalances, recognizing the wisdom of your own body, using the medicinal plants that Yah placed on earth. This does not mean rejecting modern medicine altogether. It means adopting a broader, more integrated approach, more connected to ancient wisdom. Ask yourself, what is out of balance in my life? Where am I ignoring signals that my body, mind, or spirit is sending me? How can I support my natural ability to heal? The 9th lesson Bob would give you is about ancestry. In the Rastafarian tradition, there is a deep respect for ancestors, not just immediate family members, but the entire spiritual lineage of humanity. Bob connected many people to the African legacy, the history of resistance, the wisdom that has been passed down through generations. When we lose our ancestral connection, we lose a vital part of who we are. We are like trees without roots, vulnerable to any wind that blows. Knowing your history, and not just the official version taught in schools, but the untold stories, the preserved traditions, the protected knowledge, is a fundamental part of the awakening that Bob promoted. Ask yourself, what wisdom has come to me through my ancestors? What strengths have I inherited? What healings do I need to perform, not only for myself, but for my lineage? Because when you heal yourself, you heal 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. When you free yourself, you free those who came before and pave the way for those who will come after. And finally, the 10th lesson Bob would teach you is about love. Not the idealistic romantic love, not the conditional market love, but love as a cosmic force, as the organizing principle of the universe, as our true nature. When Bob sang about one love, he was expressing a profound spiritual truth that beyond all apparent divisions, we are one consciousness experiencing itself through myriad forms. This love is not sentimental, it is revolutionary. It is the love that has the courage to confront injustice. It is the love that stands up against oppression. It is the love that builds bridges where others build walls. It is easy to love those who think like you, who act like you, who believe what you believe. The real challenge and the real practice is to expand your circle of compassion until it includes all beings. Bob did this through music, a universal language that transcends artificial barriers. How can you do this in your life? How can you be an ambassador of this one love, this fundamental unity? Maybe it starts with forgiveness of yourself and others. Maybe it continues with small, daily acts of kindness and consideration. Maybe it goes deeper through meditation on interconnection and compassion. The important thing is to understand that this love is not just a feeling, it is a practice, a commitment, a way of living. So if Bob Marley were your life coach, he would constantly remind you of your inherent divinity. He would remind you that you didn't come into this world to fit into a sick system. You came to shine your unique light. He would encourage you to question everything that limits your spirit, to resist the cynicism that is so prevalent in our culture, to keep the flame of hope alive, even when everything seems dark, because Bob saw so much suffering, so much poverty, so much violence, but he never lost his faith in the possibility of a better world. He never stopped believing that love is more powerful than hate, that truth is stronger than lies, that light eventually prevails over darkness, and perhaps that is his most important message to us today. Keep the vision alive. Keep dreaming. Keep believing. Keep creating. Keep loving. Keep rising. In a world that constantly tries to make us small, remember Bob's words. Stand up for your rights. This is not just about external rights, but about the innate right of every soul to fully express its divine light, to live not on autopilot but in full consciousness, to be not just a product of the system, but a co-creator of a new reality. So, I ask you, my brother, my sister, what will you do with this one precious life that has been given to you? Will you continue to sleep? Or will you awaken to the sacred adventure of being who you truly are? Bob chose to awaken. He chose to live his truth, to sing his song, to light the way, and even decades after his physical transition, his light continues to shine. His music continues to heal. His message continues to set free. You have that same light within you. It's not something you need to seek outside of yourself. It's your natural state when you remove the layers of conditioning, fear, and limitation. So go ahead. Stop living on autopilot. Awaken to the miracle that you are. Connect with your divine essence. Live with purpose. Love without reservation. Serve with joy. Create with passion. And always remember Bob's words. Live the life you love. Love the life you live. Rastafarian philosophy teaches us that every moment is an opportunity for communion with the divine. Every breath is sacred. Every encounter is meaningful. Every challenge is an invitation to grow. So get off autopilot. Get into the flow of conscious living. Let your light shine so brightly that it illuminates the path for everyone around you. We don't have to wait for big moments to start. We can start right now with the next breath, the next choice, the next thought. And as more and more of us awaken, live our truth, raise our vibration, the world will begin to change. Not through violent revolution, but through conscious evolution. Not through imposition, but through inspiration. This is the path that Bob Marley showed, the path of the spiritual warrior, the path of the universal lover, the path of the conscious creator. This is Rastafarian philosophy at its core, not as a set of rules, but as a path of liberation, a path of returning to our true nature, a path of reconnection with all that is, and that, my dears, is not just philosophy. It is real transformation. It is an inner revolution that leads to outer evolution. May Jah's blessings be with you on this sacred journey. May you walk with courage, with clarity, with compassion. May you never forget who you truly are. One love, one heart. Let's come together and feel good.